Okay, so we're learning the Maimer Basi L'Gani, Tafshin Mem Hey, which of course corresponds to Tafshin Pei Hey. As everybody knows, the Rebbe every year on Yud Shvat would page Yud Zayin. Yud Zayin. Every year the Rebbe would elaborate on one perek from the Frierdiker Rebbe's Hemshech of Basi L'Gani, and the Hemshech has 20 seifim, simanim. So from Tafshin Yud Aleph until Tafshin Lamed was one cycle, and then from Tafshin Lamed Aleph until Tafshin Mem Ches, so it was only 18 prakim. We're missing on the last two prakim, but that was Magia Mamarim, I believe, for both of those years. So that was the second cycle, and now we're going around the second time of the second cycle. Okay, so we're going to start. The Rebbe's Basi L'Gani Mamarim are very, very geschmack. The beginning is always extremely geschmack, because the Rebbe gives an overview of the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maimer up until the point of the perek that the Rebbe is going to be discussing. This Maimer, Tafshin Mem Hey, is discussing perek Tesvav. So the Rebbe gives a very quick overview, but a very geschmack overview of the Maimer up until that point. So, I'm sorry, I got to take this one. Hello? Did you have to cancel? Yeah, not just Kimbreda. It's beside. Okay. Okay. No. It's okay. Good. Okay, Shukar. Okay. My share for the 9 o'clock share that I have to that I'm responsible for just canceled.
So you have to.
So no, this is material that he puts together himself.
So
He's trying to figure out if I should tell everybody that it's canceled. Okay, I'll go to the show and we'll figure it out at the show.
You do it.
I didn't look at it even once. Okay, said it. We'll continue. So this year, the Maimer of Tafshin Mem Hey is on the 15th perek of Basi L'Gani. So let's get started. Basi L'Gani Achesi Kala. It says in the pasuk that the Eibishter says when they get to the time when the Yidden built the Mishkan, that the Eibishter declares and says that I came to my garden, my sister, which is a reference to Bnei Yisrael, is a Kala. Maybe he was the Baal HaIlula, the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Baal HaIlula of Yud Shvat, brings in his Maimer Shahitzi La'Eliyam Elul Shlei B'Shnas Tafshin Yud, with the way the Rebbe says it often as Hashem Yisbarach, the way the Rebbe abbreviates it. It's Maimer HaMedrash Shabbat B'Mekaymei, the Maimer of the Medrash Shabbat B'Mekaymei.
We are not together. I don't know.
Page Yud Zayin. By me, so maybe it's a different booklet. Let me see the cover. I guess to restart the numbering of the pages again for each Maimer. That's what it would seem. This is a different print. Which print do you have? You have that one. Yeah.
Is this the right one?
It's the one that I'm using. Do you have a different one? Do we have another one that's the same?
What about what's this? What's
That's
Chafei?
Chafei. Let me.
Yeah. Sorry. Folks, he got their own one. What?
What do we do? You have the Basi L'Gani.
I have the thing. I have it on my thing. I have it on my phone. You sent it to me. I have it on my phone. I have it on my phone. You literally.
I'm going to listen carefully.
No, you could use it. I could listen on the phone.
Okay, thank you.
Ich habe es auf dem Phone.
Okay. So now page design matches. So he brings in the Maimer. It's Maimer HaMedrash Shabbat B'Mekaymei. This lashon is the lashon of the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Medrash Shabbat B'Mekaymei in its place, which is not so usual that he would say B'Mekaymei in its place. It's like an extra reference. Usually he says the Medrash Shabbat says, and then say no, or where the place is. He says the Medrash Shabbat B'Mekaymei So Hasidim took that as a hint, because if you look in the Medrash Rabbah, the one who says this Maimer in the Medrash Rabbah is Menachem. The name of the Tana who says is Menachem. So Chassidim took it as a hint to the Rebbe. Aber Al Kopanim, what it says in the Medrash Rabbah Bim Kemei, L'Gani, L'Gnuni, that the Eibishter says, I came to my garden. Why does he call it to my garden? L'Gnuni, to my meeting place, L'Makim Shayikari B'Tchila, to the place where I was in the first place. In other words, this is a very fundamental idea that the Rebbe emphasizes, and the Rebbe says is actually one of the main ideas in the Hemshech of Basi L'Gani, that you shouldn't think that this world is a place that's be'etzem, a place that you can't have Gilei Likus, where you don't have Gilei Likus, and then we have to try to fight an impossible battle to change a world into something that it fundamentally is not. He says, no, the opposite is true. This world is, in essence, a place where the Eibishter is revealed. And that's the way it was in the beginning of creation. When the Eibishter created the world, the Eibishter was revealed in this world. It's only through the Chet Tzadas and other Chatoim and other sins that followed that the Shekhinah removed itself from this world. So when we're doing the work of bringing the Shekhinah down into this world, we're not trying to fundamentally change this world. What we're really trying to do is we're trying to bring the world back to the condition that it was in the beginning. That the Eibishter Shekhinah was initially and originally in the world, naturally. So the primary resting place of the Shekhinah was down here in this physical world, and through unwanted events and actions. In other words, the Averis also the Shekhinah removed itself from the first, initially from the earth, from our world, Lirikia to the first heaven. Bad Lirikia Zion, and subsequently through other Averis removed itself even higher until it went to the most distant place from this world, to the seventh heaven. And after this series of events, there arose 7 tzaddikim, 7 righteous men, and through their good deeds, they brought the Shekhinah down first from the 7th heaven down to the 6th, until the final and 7th of these tzaddikim. He was the 7th. And all of the ones who are 7th are always more beloved. And therefore, he had this chus. Like you see, Shabbos is on the 7th day, the Shemitah year is the 7th year, and many other things that where you see that the 7th is special.
Everything was 7. The Rebbe is the 7th.
The Rebbe is the 7th. And it's obvious from the Maimon that it's the Rebbe's job to bring the Shekhinah actually into this world. In other words, to bring Mashiach b'Peil and b'Gali.
Everything was in cycles of 7. Beyond that, that's the Yoivels, then there's multiples of Yoivels. Everything works
on cycles of 7. Yeah. So Vayrid Allah Aretz, so Moshe Rabbeinu brought the Shekhinah down here into this world, and he mentions in the parentheses, the Avsha Moshe Paul Aretz the Shekhinah Meriki Ha'alef Laretz, even though Moshe Rabbeinu completed one step, he brought the Shekhinah down one level, just like all the tzaddikim before him who brought the Shekhinah down closer to this earth, one level. Nevertheless, there's an essential difference between what Moshe Rabbeinu did and between what all the tzaddikim before him did. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu drew down the Shekhinah from being in the heavens to being down here into this world. So this was a categorical change. Earlier, the Taka brought it down a step, just like Moshe Rabbeinu. But even though they brought the Shekhinah down from the 7th heaven to the 6th, and then to the 5th, etc., but it was still in general in the realm of the heavens. The Shekhinah was in the realm of the heavens, not down here in this world. Moshe Rabbeinu, even though he brought it down only one step also, but he brought about a fundamental and categorical change where now the Shekhinah was no longer in the heavens, now it's in this world.
What's the categorical?
Translate it would say that it's of a whole different category. If it's a whole different type of thing.
Categorical, compared to...
No, not like that. I can't remember how you would say it in Hebrew. But it's a whole other thing. It's not just one more step. It's actually an entirely new idea. So from the general idea of being in the heavens down here to this world. And this is the Aveda of Tzaddikim in general. Like it says in the pasuk, tzaddikim yirshu aretz v'yishkinu ad aleha. It says in the pasuk that the tzaddikim will inherit the land and they will dwell upon it forever, for eternity. So that's the pirush hapashut of the pasuk. We'll see in a moment what the pirush hapnimi of the pasuk is. Shinin avedas kol echad miYisrael. When it says the aveda of tzaddikim, this is a reference to every single yid. How is it tzaddikim a reference to every single yid? Because it says va'amich kulam tzaddikim, that every single yid is called a tzaddik and is a tzaddik, and therefore his aveda hu lahamshich es hashchina tzaddikim yish to their mamshich the shchina shnikas v'shem shchina al shem shchina mislabeshes b'tachrein kedisa b'tani lamata ba'aretz aleha v'yishkenu la'adaleh tzaddikim yish ha'aretz v'yishkenu la'adaleh, that they bring down the shchina, that it should be sheikhin, that it should dwell and rest aleha on the land. How do we get the power and the ability to do this aveda? How does every single yid and the yidden in general have the ability to draw the Shekhinah down into this world? So this comes from Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, like we mentioned before, was the one who did it the first time. He was the prototype. He was the one who created the idea of bringing the Shekhinah back down into this world. Moshe Rabbeinu drew the Shekhinah down into this world by building the Mishkan.
Well, I thought it was Avraham Avinu did the first stage.
That was from the Kriya Hazayin Levov.
Right, bringing it down.
Bringing it down, but not to this world.
Right, Moshe Rabbeinu was the ultimate step with
bring it down.
The Oren and the Mishkan.
And that's when the Shekhinah was no longer in the heavens. Now the Shekhinah will take her Shekhinah in this world. Yeah. The Al Derech Zeh Nimshach b'Moshe shebechol dara v'dara. And so too, it continues with the Moshe Rabbeinu, like it says in Zohar, that in every single generation there's a Moshe Rabbeinu of that generation who's a continuation of the original Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Rebbe of every generation, the leader, the Nasi of every generation, his aveda is to bring the Shekhinah down into this world, and he also gives the koyach to all of the people, to the entire Jewish nation, to draw the Shekhinah down into this world. So that's the first idea, that we, the Yidden, the Jewish nation, gets the ability, the koyach, to draw the Shekhinah down into this world from the Rebbe, from the Nasi Adar, from the leader of the generation. And then there's a second point over here. However, there's also another idea, that there's a b'china, there's an aspect, an element of Moshe Rabbeinu which resides in every single Yid. As it's explained in Tanya, that because there's the Moshe Rabbeinu in the Pnimius HaNeshama of every single Yid, you have the b'china of Moshe Rabbeinu. So therefore, every single Yid can reach the level of, can have Yiras Shamayim. I'm not going to get into the Arichis, what he explains in the Tanya. But the primary point over here is that there's a b'china of Moshe Rabbeinu, there's an aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu within every single Yid. In other words, the attainment of Yiras Shamayim is a small, minor thing to every single Yid, because he has within him the b'china, the aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu. And therefore, he lasis mishkan or mikdash lo yisbarach. So just like the original Moshe Rabbeinu, what was his aveda? To bring the Shekhinah down into this world. How? By building a mishkan for the Eibishter. So too, every single Yid who has a b'china of Moshe Rabbeinu within him has the ability to do this aveda. Moshe Rabbeinu did it in the world in general, and every single Yid does it within himself. And through that, he does it within his part of the world. So every single Yid, when we say that the Shekhinah has to come down into this world, every single Yid has a part in that work, starting primarily from himself. Bringing the Shekhinah down into this world. It's a very personal aveda. Every one of us has the job of Pashat, bringing elikus, bringing getlichkeit into our lives. And we have the ability to do it from this because we have this Moshe Rabbeinu within us. And therefore we can do this aveda. Until the Eibishter can say that he rests within every single Yid. It's a famous member of the Baal Shem Tov, Rachmana Liba Boy. The Eibishter wants the heart. In other words, there's the mitzvahs that you do in action, But somebody could be doing the mitzvahs in action, and what is he? He's from. He's from, but the Eibishter has nothing to do. You can have somebody who's pashat, he's ma'ader in every single mitzvah, but he doesn't think about the Eibishter. These are things that he has to do. These are things that make him good. These are things that make him accepted. These are things that give him elam haba. The Eibishter wants that there should be a heartfelt aveda, that the Eibishter should rest in the heart, just like in our heart. Our wife, our children, our grandchildren rest within our heart. The things that we care about deeply, and they mean something to us, and they're part of us. The Eibishter Pasha wants that there should be an Abba and Yira to him, and that the Eibishter should primarily rest within us. The Pnimius.
When it's in the heart, it goes into your body properly.
It's heartfelt. It's not an asafa v'lachutz. It's not a superficial thing. And in specific, in detail, this Aveda is done through the Aveda of Ishapcha Chashechel Nehera, of transforming darkness into light. And over here, you can have a very basic question. The Aveda of Ishapcha is the Aveda of Tzaddikim, right? It explains in Tanya at length that a tzaddik could be mahapich, could transform the bad into good. But over here, the Fidik Rebbe and the Maimon Basi L'Gani says that you have to have the Aveda of Ishapcha Chashechel Nehera by every single yid. So that's not a Beinani. A Beinani is Aveda of Iskafia. Dafka a tzaddik can do Ishapcha. That's how he explains it in Tanya. So what does he mean over here? What does the Fidik Rebbe mean when he says that?
To run from bad and do good.
What's that?
To run from bad and do good.
To run from bad. So you're saying you're running from bad. Is Iskafia? Why are you running? Why do you have to run away?
Take the bad.
Sur Meira.
Sur Meira. Okay, so that's Iskafia.
That's fear and love. You got the two elements.
But within the Sur Meira Vasei Tov, there's two ways. One way is where you have to run away from it. In other words, the bad remains bad. It's just that we're avoiding it. So this Aveda is like when a Yid says that I can't deal with this world. Yeah, my job is to separate myself from this world. Wherever I could literally separate myself from this world, I will. Wherever I have to do with the world, so I'll take on a different name. At work, I'm going to become, Mark or whatever it is. And, I'm going to have a computer without a filter, because now I'm at work. And then when I leave...
At today's workplace, you get fired if you have a computer without a filter. The boss knows every little tiny step into it.
The boss, the real boss, always knows. Right? So you can say, I'll separate myself from the world. That's the Aveda of Iskafia. You're not getting involved in the world. You're running away from it. The Aveda of Iskafia that the Fidik Rebbe is talking about over here is to use the world and all the manners of the world, all the ways of the world, like the example that the Fidik Rebbe gives in the end of the first Maimon of the Hemshech, in the Perek Hey of Basi L'Gani. He says, for example, you have this idea in this world that there are some things that are immovable. When it comes time to eat, you stop, you do it, you go and you eat. Now it's time to sleep, so you sleep. There are things that the person has that he doesn't move. So the Fidik Rebbe says that you have to take this idea that there are things that are unmovable, and you have to apply it and be it mahapich to kedusha.
Set schedule.
I think said a set schedule also.
Yeah,
sometimes you reschedule. So what he's saying is that for example, when it comes to the times for davening or when it comes to the times for the shiurim, you can't cancel them. It's a set time. You have to it's a kviz benef. So this is the idea of ishapcha. Or for example, a person has within him the ability to be excited. He's going on vacation, he gets very excited. So you have this feeling, this concept of excitement. So ishapcha would mean to bring your excitement to learning Rambam, to giving tzedakah, to coming to a shir, to helping to Abbas Yisrael, to helping another yid, to excitement about the idea that Mashiach atat kumt Mashiach. The Mashiach is almost here, and we have to bring him to this world. Bring the excess. That's the idea of ishapcha.
Excitement with the challenges.
You can have excitement with the challenges also. We're going to get to the challenges soon a little bit. So the primary Aveda of where you could say that the Eibishter rests within the Yid and the Eibishter rests within the world is not when you ignore the world, not when you only do an Aveda of Iskafia, but when you transform the world. You take the darkness of the world and you transform it into a place that what's the definition of the world is Ur. This is a very fundamental idea, especially in the Rebbe's Chassidus. Right, that it shouldn't only be Kol Masech L'Shem Shemayim. The idea of Kol Masech L'Shem Shemayim is that somebody says, I go to business. Why do I go to business? I'm going to go to business anyways, right? Somebody says I go to business, but all of my profits I do to support the Beshluchim, to support meisters, to support schools, to support families. So what am I doing? I know how to do business. What am I going to do? I'm going to use my business to serve the Eibishter. But this is only while very laudable, this is only the madreg of Kol Masech L'Shem Shemayim. Because this person would have been doing business even if he didn't have opportunities to give tzedakah. The business is there as business. What if everybody had money? There was no place to give tzedakah, but everybody has. He would still be doing business. The business itself is only l'shem shemayim. But then there's kol b'chol derchecha de'ehu, where in the business itself, the Yid says that the Eibishter gave me the ability to do business. So in other words, he put a certain portion of Elam Haza under my control, and I'm going to take wherever my business rules, wherever my business has domain, I'm going to take this and I'm going to say this is a place that lives and breathes according to what the Eibishter wants. So in every part of his business, he's going to say, is this according to Shulchan Aruch? Is this not only according to Shulchan Aruch, is this part of my business according to Chassidus? The way Chassidus wants that a place should look. In other words, lifnim sadin, and something that furthers bringing down an awareness of the Eibishter to every single person, even to the guy in his business. Because his whole business is b'chol derchecha de'ehu. And furthermore, where does the businessman experience Hashem? He experiences Hashem in the hashgacha pratis that he sees in his business. So when he's working on a deal and he doesn't see how it's going to come through, or he thinks he's going to make a certain amount of money, and then with the mall, the deal came through, and not only it came through in a way much better than he had initially envisioned, and these are things that just seemingly fell into place out of nowhere. So he sees the hashgacha pratis, he sees the way the Eibishter is in control of the world. He feels the presence of the Eibishter in the world through his business. So the business is not only l'shem shemayim, but the business itself is a way of serving the Eibishter. And really, the Rebbe takes it even a step further. But maybe we'll leave that for a different moment. So would be geschmack to learn it one time. Anyway, so he says like this, and that's why we also take, this is also the idea of taking the sheker, the lie of the world. What's the lie of the world? That it conceals the truth, which is the Indian shel sheker. What's the truth? The truth is that the Eibishter is one, and the entire world is merely a part of the Eibishter. There is only Eibishter. There is nothing else that exists. But the Elam,
you're not in faith yet. You're not in faith yet.
No. On the top of Yudches, the third line, with the fact that the world conceals this truth, this reality, that the Eibishter is the only true existence. Therefore, it's a lie. You transform it into krashim, into the beams for the Mishkan. The sheker, we transform the sheker, which is made of the letters shin kuf reish, to keresh, which is made of the same letters. You just have to rearrange them. Shiu krashim leMishkan, last is by Mishkan lo yisbarich. That the sheker should be transformed into krashim, into beams. In other words, into a Mishkan, into a place where the Eibishter can dwell. Okay, so in this section, the Rebbe lays down for us, really the Frierdiker Rebbe does, what is the Aveda, the general Aveda, looking at it in the broadest sense, in the broadest sweep, that you can look over the entire picture. What are we supposed to be doing over here? Right? I mean, by Chassidim, it's already a rubber pashat that we're not here in order to get Olam Haba. Yeah. There's once a cartoon that I saw that really brought out the point. You had a kid asking his mother, "Mom, what's the purpose of life?" So his mother answers him, "To help others." So the kid asks the mother, "And what's the purpose of the others?" Yeah, if my purpose is to help the other person, that's my whole tachlis in the world. So and then that person, it never ends. There's no tachlis. So what's the tachlis? He says the tachlis is that the Eibishter wants to rest in this world. What is that? So what do I have to do with it? So he says, hold on one second. What's shot this world? You. You're a detail in this world. You're a part of this world. Not only a detail, is a ilam umlay. You are this world. And therefore, it's your personal avodah. It's your personal job, accomplishment, and achievement to bring the Eibush that they should rest within you. And that's the whole purpose that we're supposed to be doing in this world. That's what Torah Mitzvahs is for. That's what all the Giluyim, that's what Matan Torah was for. That's what Mashiach is all about. That's the whole story, is that the Eibush should rest. Dir lasis leisparich dir betachtein. Okay, so that's what he lays out over here. And he adds that you have to do it, obviously, by transforming this world. Because if you're not transforming this world, then you're not making a diddle isparach b'tachtein. And now he says, how do you do this avodah? In order to accomplish this, you have to do the avodah in a eifin of Mesiras Nefesh, which is explained by Aruch in other years. So we're not going to get into it. I don't have it clear in my head. And it's also it's a whole subject onto its own, but it's connected with the inyan of Mesiras Nefesh. Because in order to properly make a diddle isparach in this world, it's not when the aveda is done in a eifin of a slave. In other words, in an eifin of complete and absolute bittul. If my mitzias is involved over here, so then it's about my agenda. It's not about the revelation of the Eibishter in this world. So you have to have complete bittul, which is the idea of Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh, as is known, is the idea of Mesiras Haratzon, giving away all of my own agendas, all of my own desires, all of my own taivas, setting them aside, and doing everything just for the Eibishter's sake. And that's the idea of Avdus. Just like Moshe Rabbeinu, the original one who drew the Shekhinah down into this world, was called a faithful servant of the Eibishter. And Moshe Rabbeinu not only had the Maila of a minister who's considered what's Lashon in Samach Vav? Eved.
Eved Neman.
Eved Neman. It doesn't sound right. Maybe. About Kapanim, he also had the Maila of an Eved Pashat. Not a minister is a Chashiv Eved. And he serves the king because he understands the greatness of the king. But he's missing the Maila of the Bittul of Kabbalah Soil. His Bittul has to do with his Metzias. Masha'enke, Eved Pashat, his Bittul has nothing to do with his Metzias because his Metzias wants to run away. The Bittul is all Mitzad that the Adin, the king, forces him. So the Bittul has nothing to do with him. So there's a Maila in there. And Moshe Rabbeinu had that Maila also. The Yetzer Al Kain, and furthermore, hey, Yisraelim Banim Lavinu Shebashamayim. The Yidden also have the Bittul of Banim because we are children to the Eibishter. Shavedus Aben Avodah Haviv. He Gamkin with Chines Mesiras Nefesh. So, which the Aveda of a son for his father, the way he serves his father, is also an Eif of Mesiras Nefesh. V'adraba Eides Mesiras Nefesh. The Eved, even more than the Mesiras Nefesh of Eved. L'kedisa Bezer Huvim Nispar Betani Kebrod Ishtadol Basar Avoy Yasir Migarmei. That a child looks after and cares about his father more than he cares about himself. So you have this complete setting himself aside, this Mesiras Nefesh, the Mesiras Eretzenis, he puts them aside in his complete bittul to serve his father. So im kabanim, im kavadim. Mitzad the inyan, every yid has within him the inyan of a ben and the inyan of a evet. So mitzad the inyan of a ben, it's a word of bittul. Mitzad the inyan of a evet, it's a word of bittul. In other words, a Mesiras Nefesh. V'zeu teichen avay the last seilum mishkan leisbarech. And this is the Teichen of the Aveda in this world, which is to make the world into a Mishkan for the Eibishter, which this Aveda is done in the Eifin of Mesiras Nefesh. And because the Yid goes about his work on a day-to-day basis in a Eifin of Mesiras Nefesh, that's why a Yid is called a soldier, or the Yidden in general are called an army, because every single Yid is a soldier. What's the distinguishing characteristic of a soldier versus somebody who works in a company or in any other enterprise is the idea of Mesiras Nefesh. A soldier is ready to go into danger and to be shot and to be killed, but he goes and marches directly into that. So a soldier gives up his life in order to fulfill his mission. And that's the idea of the Aveda of making a Mishkan Leisbarich B'Tachtenim, to make a Dira Leisbarich B'Tachtenim. You have to do an Eifin of Mesiras Nefesh. Since this is the nature of the Aveda, therefore we are called soldiers, because we set aside our life to accomplish the purpose and to win the battle. Okay. Continues in the Maimer. Just like it is in the Milchama of a physical king, of a king of flesh and blood. So too we'll be able to understand in this war that the Tzivus Hashem, that the Yidden, the Jewish army of the Eibishter is fighting, To transform the lie of the world, the hell and the hester of the world. That should be a place where the Eibishter rests. That what do you see by a physical king? When it comes to a time of battle, yeah, I say the king is running his country, and funds are needed for this or for that. The king doesn't touch his own treasures. His own treasures are there, but the whole idea of his treasures is they hit to increase in his wealth, to increase in his power and in his glory. His treasures are not spent on inyanim for the country. And not only that, you have those treasures, within the treasures themselves that are precious, you have even things that are more precious than precious. These are family heirlooms. There are things that he collected over many years. And not only that, his parents and his forefathers collected it over many generations. Which this is more precious than precious. And they are hidden and covered over. Nobody's even allowed to see them. Not only are these treasures are not there for daily expenditures. Yeah, you have a savings account, and you have an IRA, all of these different things, and then you have the regular checking account. The checking account is for daily use. The savings account, it's not. This is the retirement account. This is for later. So by a king, you have a different concept. You have this concept of the king's treasures. They're not there in order to support life. They're there simply because I am a king, and a king has treasures. It goes to the heart, to the essence of the king. And therefore, he never spends them. And not only that he never spends them, he never even allows anybody to see them. It goes even further. They're considered so special that he doesn't even allow anybody to have a look at them. These are the kings himself. They're only befitting for the king to see them. Nevertheless, when it comes to a situation of war, now suddenly everything is changed. He splurges and spends even these treasures without any consideration. And on who does he spend them? He spends them on the soldiers. He gives them so that his soldiers should have the armor, should have the food, should have the training, should have whatever they need so that they should be able to win the war. As he explains in other Mamon, because it's kind of the war, the Netzach HaMelchama is connected with Midas HaNetzach, and Midas HaNetzach is connected with the Etzem HaNeshama. Therefore, it's Negeya Mamish to the essence of the king, to the king himself to win this war, even more than the treasures are Negeya to the king, and therefore he spends the treasures in order to win the war. And even though what's to say that the king doesn't disperse the treasures to each individual soldier, he gives the soldiers to the commanders of the army. And then the commanders of the army will give them to the next level commanders. However, why does the king give it to the commanders? Why do the commanders get all of this tremendous wealth only to give it to the foot soldiers? So the king spends all of his treasure on the foot soldiers. What's the ultimate purpose of giving the treasures to the big commanders? That the treasure should reach to the foot soldiers, the ones who actually are standing at the front and waging battle. And all for what? So they should be able to be victorious in the war. So this is the way it is with the king of flesh and blood. Just like it is in the mashal that we just explained in detail, so too it is in the nimshal, because every mashal is really something that comes and is an expression of the idea where it comes from Lamaila. That what do you have Lamaila? What do you have by the Eibishter? The B'shvil Nitzach HaMelchama. For the Eibishter to win the war, like we see, it says Netzach Yisrael Lo Yishaker. That by the Eibishter, he has this thing that he will to win this war, and he won't leave it. He won't. As I touch Netzach Yisrael Lo Yishaker. But there's this idea we see from the pasuk that there's this idea of Nitzachin by the Eibishter. That the Eibishter has, just like Lamata, we have this window of Netzach. So by the Eibishter, there's this window of Netzach Yisrael Lo Yishaker, that he will be faithful and he will win. He will see it through and he won't fail. So B'shvil Zeh, in order for by the Eibishter to fulfill the Eibishter's Nitzachim Kivyochel, B'shvil Zeh mevazbezim milamayla skola eitzis. Milamayla, they splurge without any accounting all of the treasures, and they give them to the Anshe Echal to the foot soldiers, Alidei Pkidei Echal through the commanders. In other words, every single Yid gets the Eibishter's most treasured Eitzris, most treasured Keiches Milamayla, and he gets it through the Pkidei Echal, through the leaders of the generation, and through the Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation. He gets everything he needs that he should be able to be successful in his war. As it's explained somewhere else, that this Eitzer is the idea of an Eitzer of Yiras Shamayim, which requires a little explanation. Why is it called an Eitzer? It's explaining Gemara because it's something that, just like a treasure is collected from others, the king has to collect his treasure from others, so too the Eibishter has to collect his treasure of Yiras Shamayim from others. But nevertheless, in order for us to have Yiras Shamayim, we need an Nesinas Koach Milamayla. And that's the treasure that the Eibishter gives us. So it's like a treasure in both directions. The Eibishter gives us through the Pkidei Echal, through the leaders of the generation, the Eibishter gives us the Koach to have Yiras Shamayim. And this Yiras Shamayim then becomes the Eibishter's treasure. Who waged the battle to make the world, to transform the world into a Mishkan and a Mikdash, a place where the Eibishter rests. Okay, so Akitzer Amaisa, what he's saying over here is like this. What do we have to know? How are we going to be able to succeed in this battle? Right? I don't think we have to do much explanation to explain that it's very difficult to succeed in this battle. Right? We're not only talking about not eating chazer and keeping Shabbos and eating chont on Shabbos. Right? It could be hard also, but we're not only talking about those things. We're talking about Pashat, that the Eibishter should rest within me, that the Eibishter should rest within the entire world. And this is a very hard Aveda to do. And for that, you need Mesiras Nefesh. So how are you able to do it? So he says that the Eibishter gives us Koach, that we should be able to have Yiras Shamayim. Every single Yid has the Koach of Yiras Shamayim, that notwithstanding everything that's going on around him and everything that's tempting him, the Eibishter gives them this power of Yiras Shamayim. They should be able to stand up to it and win over it and overcome it. So that's the idea of the Eitzah that we get in order to win the battle. You're going to say that in our generation, in Ikvasa de Meshicha, things are tougher than ever, and it's taka true. So in the next paragraph, he's going to explain that this Eitzah is given specifically to the generation of Ikvasa de Meshicha, much more than it was given to previous generations. So we're a very paradoxical generation, and you see it also in the day-to-day life. On the one hand, when it comes to levels, to reaching madrigas, we can't compare to the generations that came before us. In the generations before us, you had several tzaddikim in a generation. Maybe you can even say you had many tzaddikim in a generation. Even if you didn't have tzaddikim, you had beinin. You had people who Pasha took life seriously. The Fidik gives a very geschmack description of how in the old country you would go into a Beis Medrash. She's comparing what a shul looks like in America and what a shul looks like in the old country. So he doesn't say this specifically, but it sounds like what he's saying is that in America the shul is physically very nice, and the Yid is physically very nice, and the Rav is physically very nice. He describes how in the old country, when you walked in, the shul was taka leaking, and the paint was peeling, and the Yid that was standing there, his talos katan was torn, and his levush was torn. It says beferish his levush was torn. It was like almost like you knew it would be. Before you even walked in, you knew I'm going to see a Jew over here with tattered clothing. But nevertheless, said kedavant, when you heard the Yid say l'shem yichud k'tzabrichu and baruch shamar v'ayah, you heard the Pirush Hamilas. Just by listening to him, you could hear the Pirush Hamilas of the words just from the way he was saying it. So we don't have that. The Fidik demands that we do it also, but we don't have it the way we had it in the previous generations. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, the Kabbalah Seil, the Yiras Shamayim, the Mesiras Nefesh that we have in this generation is something that's never been seen anywhere, ever. We have no madrigas. How many of us could say that they experienced an explosion of love to the Eibishter in their heart? These are the basics that the Alter Rebbe talks about in Tanya. How many of us can say that they experienced an explosion of joy in their heart? What we had in Tanya a few days ago or a week ago, yeah, a simchas leva from the gedulas Hashem v'yikar tiferes gedulase, from the greatness of the Eibishter, from the beauty of the Eibishter. Right? How many of us can say that Pashat had an explosion of joy from realizing the greatness of the Eibishter in front of whom, in whose presence we stand in the day-to-day life? We don't experience that, and yet we don't budge an inch from Torah and mitzvahs. And over here, you see the Mesiras Nefesh that we have and the bittul that we have in this generation. That's the unique quality of our generation, which is the generation that has to usher in the Gili of Mashiach Tzidkenu. And that's what he continues in the next ayah, that Dafka in this generation we have the Kech of Mesiras Nefesh more than at any other time.
Look carefully. It's the Rebbe that changed the mindset of this generation. We were all headed for modernism, and the Rebbe came in. He changed the mindset of the entire generation.
Without a question.
Totally. I mean, like he refocused everybody. Said, no, this is what's important. But at the beginning, when Mitzvah film came out, I remember at Lipfish's friends. Well, why film? Why do you want film? Why not this one? Why film?
But it is not.
No, but they couldn't understand the mechanisms that the Rebbe was putting in place. And here we are.
Yeah, and the whole world already learned it. And Baruch Hashem, the entire world is not.
He changed the mindset. Even Goyim, you see him today speaking in kindness and stiffness. No, this is we're a nation. We believe in God.
Yeah, and not only that, they even say they believe in the Old Testament.
He changed the mindset of an entire generation.
Richtig, and that's why you talk about the Pekidei HaChayil, as he says in the Maimon. He says through Moshe Rabbeinu, this Pashtus of the Moshe B'chol Dora.
That's it.
So let's see how it works. But I'm sorry. There's always a but, because what does the Rebbe say at the Farbrengen of Yud Shvat, Tavshin Yud Aleph? That don't convince yourself, and now you appointed a Rebbe,
Right.
and now he's going to do the work for you.
Yeah.
You got to do the work.
You got to do the work.
And that's the idea over here in this Maimer also, that he's saying that yes, it is the Rebbe, it is the general who gives us this year's Shemayim, but who's it given to? It's the foot soldier who's got to get to work. All right, let's be clear about that. So we'll start this again. The paragraph again. Inin zeshi sonkem shem tzivus Hashem be'evdim avodas Mesiras Nefesh al derech, and it's in the sites of Shalom who beprati is more specifically bedara de ikvasa de Mashiach. In this generation of the footsteps of the heels of Mashiach, where you already hear the footsteps of Mashiach, but on the other hand, we're also on the lowest level, just like the heel is on the lowest level of the body. Sha'avedas Mesiras Nefesh alem he betekef yesa, that the aveda of Mesiras Nefesh in our generation is much stronger than other times. Like it's explained in Torah and what it says in the pasuk, that Moshe Rabbeinu was extremely humble before every single person. And he explains in Torah, the primary anivus that Moshe Rabbeinu felt was from our generation. Would you believe it? From us. Why? Machmas Mesiras Nefesh alehem, Moshe Rabbeinu saw this Mesiras Nefesh of the Yidden of our times, that they stand with might in front of all of the things that stand in our way, ubifrat, and especially bifnei hamaligim, that the Yidden of this generation stand with this Mesiras Nefesh and are brave in the face of the mockers and the scoffers, and in a way where they're not shamed by those who make fun and are cynical of somebody who's trying sincerely to serve the Eibishter. And like the Rebbe points out it's pointed out in the Ha'ara, this is not the Rebbe's Ha'aras, but the Rebbe himself points out many times that Al Yevish Mipnei Amaligim is right in the beginning of Shulchan Aruch. And the reason why it's right in the beginning of Shulchan Aruch is because it's one of the most difficult challenges, this challenge of Al Yevish Mipnei Amaligim. The Fidik Rebbe talks about it. The mockers, the scoffers, the ones who say, look at this guy. Yeah, he's learning Chassidus. What does he know? He's davening slowly. Who does he think he is? I just saw him the other day, this, that, and the other. Yeah, I don't know. You have to ask Amos Mocker.
No, they feel incomplete. So they not they want to drag you down to their.
True. In other words, what you're saying is that the mockers and the scoffers are usually the lowliest people. But the Frierdiker Rebbe points out in several places that the shame that one feels when he's shamed by a nobody, it's a much bigger bullshit. If somebody is in shul and the Rav screams at him, yeah, the Rav made a mistake. He had a bad day. He screamed at him. So he's not so, even though he was made a fool out of, but he's not so embarrassed.
It's the Rav
Because exactly. But what if the janitor, Mama's the janitor made a fool of him? The bush is much worse. This is in halacha also. If somebody smacks somebody in the marketplace and shames him, how much does he have to pay? So the Rambam writes that everything depends on who was doing the embarrassing and who was the person who was embarrassed. So you see that when you're embarrassed by the people who are not whole with themselves, and that's why they're shooting out at you, it doesn't make it any easier. If anything, it makes it harder. So we have this Mesiras Nefesh in our times, and from this, Moshe Rabbeinu, when he saw this, he felt humbled by it, because he saw that it's such a tremendous thing. And because we have Mesiras Nefesh on the highest level, so therefore we are also the ones who make a mikdash for the Eibishter. It's going to go a little bit long, but the nekudah that he's making over here is that because in order to make a mishkan and a mikdash for the Eibishter, you need Mesiras Nefesh, you need bittul. And in our generation, the mikdash and the Mashiach, what's our outstanding quality? It is the Mesiras Nefesh. That's why we are the ones who are actually going to bring the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi. So let's see it inside. So Shazek Koil, which also includes the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi lasi, the Mishkas of Rambam Shmitzvah says he is called about the HaMikdash, is Numedes Mashkas of Mishkan, Shasa Meish Vasili Mikdash. That included in Vasili Mikdash, which was talking about the Mishkan, is also the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi. Like the Rambam writes that the mitzvah and the way the pasha, the architecture of all of the Batei Mikdashes, of all of the Beis HaMikdash is learned from the Mishkan. Umamshich v'chein binin ha'asid li'ibana hainu ha'bayis ha'shlishi. The Rambam continues so to the third Beis HaMikdash af b'shul kasu b'Yechezkel, even though it's written in Yechezkel, so you would think that we learn it from Yechezkel, not from the Mishkan. Still, he says einay mefurish u'mavur. It's not so clearly explained. But no, similar to the ideas that are described in Yechezkel. To move on, that the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, if the Bayis Sheni was made similar to the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi is going to be similar to the Bayis Sheni. It works the other way also. And it comes from the Mishkan. It's included in the Mishkan. And the third Beis HaMikdash is the eternal Beis HaMikdash, and that's why it's the true Beis HaMikdash. It's the ultimate. When it says also the Mikdash, what's the complete level of that? The complete Mikdash of that? That's the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi. Similar to the Mikdash, the Mishkan, in other words. Moshe built to call Ma'aseh Yedei Moshe Nitzchim, that they are eternal. So too the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi is going to be eternal. The bias that you've bought b'mehera v'yameinu mamash al dem asenu v'avedusenu ba'ifin shel tzivus Hashem, which this Beis HaMikdash will be built speedily in our times through our work in an eifin of an army. In other words, in an eifin mitech Mesiras Nefesh k'may Moshe, just like Moshe Rabbeinu, where we do the aveda of ishapcha and drawing the Shekhinah into our own life in an eifin of Mesiras Nefesh. But eifin the Eved Neman in a way of a faithful servant, to Ben Neman and a faithful son. And also the Eved Pashut, and including also the mile of the Eved Pashut. And therefore, because it is the outstanding quality of our generation to have Mesiras Nefesh. And Dafka, through that will we bring the Beis HaMikdash, will we bring Mashiach. So therefore, the Eibishter gives us, in this generation, the treasure more than in any other generation. This treasure of the power for a Yid to be able to have Yiras Shamayim is given dafka to people in our times, to us, much more than at any other time before. And that's the end of the Rebbe's overview of Basi L'Gani up until the 15th Perek. And from here until the end of the Maimer is going to be an explanation on the concepts and the ideas of the 15th Perek. I have to say that at the end of the Maimer, this is going to be a Maimer that we're going to learn, so you know that you don't know. It's very, very. He's talking about Madregas before the Tzimtzum Harishan. He's talking about the Tzimtzum, which was before the Tzimtzum Harishan. It's beyond my pay grade, but we're going to learn it, and we'll do our best with it, Mitzvah Hashem. All right, so Mitzvah Hashem, next week we'll continue.
So what are we going to get into?
Now we're going to be getting to the 15th chapter in the Maimer, where
Which
he
is what page?
right here in